All right, everyone. Welcome to episode 12, I believe, Colin. Episode 12 of the Open Waters podcast. We have a special guest today, Mr. Gannon Breslin. He was a 2019 Merchant Marine Academy Kings Pointer graduate, deck cadet, right? So deck cadet did some internships shipping out, and then also still currently shipping out, third mate. Are you on a Gannon? Before I finish this, you're on a OSV, right? You're offshore.
Yes. Yeah. I work for an offshore company.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So offshore company, also co-founder, CMO, Fleet Survival, which I thought was pretty cool. I saw that on your LinkedIn page. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing, and the way that I met Gannon was actually through Twitter. Randomly, I was just scrolling because Colin and I actually together both got into like FinTwit for a little bit, like at the start of COVID. And randomly found Gannon's Twitter. Someone that I follow must have liked or retweeted something, and I looked at his bio and it said US MMA 2019. And I was like, damn, this is a small world, the maritime world. Everyone always says it, right? Small world. So yeah, now we got Gannon on. I just wanted him to kind of take us through, from start to finish, going to the Merchant Marine Academy. First Kings Pointer on this show. Kings Pointer has quite the Kings Pointers have quite the reputation in the maritime academy realm.
Yeah.
But so far it seems like you're breaking those stereotypes. So let's hear it, Gannon.
The podcast just started, so maybe I no. Yeah, thank you guys seriously for having me on, and I was just so stoked to get connected with Connor over Twitter. I can't tell you guys enough how small of a world it is. Everywhere you go, wherever you went to school, you're going to run into sailors. So just like a quick little background, I was born and raised in California. I wanted to go to business school at UCLA. Last second, I switched over to going to Kings Point. My brother's in the Army, and I kind of always thought it'd be cool to serve or do something in that realm. I was very fortunate to have a best friend whose dad is a harbor pilot for Long Beach, and he's a great guy. And I kind of saw his whole lifestyle and was like, what do you do? Why do you have so much time off? And, he made it seem very simple, but he was like, I drive boats and park them. That was his description of being a harbor pilot, which we all know is much, much more difficult.
Yeah, a little oversimplified.
Very simplified. And so I applied. I applied to Cal Maritime. I applied to Kings Point. I ended up going with Kings Point. And
for free?
I kind of always... Sorry?
That for free?
Yeah, for free. Oh, nothing is free.
Yeah.
As we all know, we can get into that later. But yeah, I went to school there and kind of always still had this business finance itch. And I currently obviously sail, but along the way and currently, I've had some fun entrepreneurial things that I've gotten myself into. And it's been a blast.
Yeah, and that's what really drove me to reach out, because it definitely seems like you have the background, the maritime background. You're still in it, right? But you like found, and maybe this is because you're shipping out, so you have some time, you have the time on, then you come on shore, then you have the time off to, like, what am I going to do with myself while I'm off?
Right.
And you amassed a pretty big following on Twitter. You got over 16,000 followers on Twitter. You're publishing the newsletters consistently, which is awesome. I was reading the 401k one the other day, and I think that's something that some of the maritime academies they don't teach this kind of stuff. Like, and
right.
you kind of have to be interested in it to even just kind of get your foot in the door. And it seems like you give that opportunity for people. And I think that listeners, because our listeners are mainly maritime, either students or alumni. So I think they would feel the same way that yeah, we went and Colin and I were in a business program, right? And we got a little bit of, business as far as like investing and things like that, but it was never like what we're into now, which is like Colin and I are talking about Bitcoin every day. Or, Yeah, we're talking about our 401ks, and so I just think it's like so cool that you're at the like the intersection of finance and also
Mhm.
maritime. Even though I know you try to separate the two, right? You try to have your like Twitter, your FinTwit situation going on, and then also have your maritime life as well. But yeah, I'd be interested to just hear like how this all started. Like, were you
Yeah.
doing this at Kings Point first, and then you kind of just
Yeah.
rolled into it?
So, it kind of started even before Kings Point. I got into the stock market when I was around 17, junior, senior year of high school. I was pretty fortunate to have my mom, always loved the stock market. So it kind of just became my thing. And like I said earlier, I thought I was going to go to business school. I think anyone who went to a maritime academy had, a school that they thought they were going to go to and then ended up going to their maritime school. Um, but yeah, just traveled with me. And again, I think we can all attest that when you're at school at these maritime schools, especially if there's any, federal service academies, alumni or current students listening, you got a lot of time off, whether you like it or not. And I just fell in love with the stock market because it was kind of just something that I can do on my quote unquote free time. And I found myself, in class, doing all the classes I needed to do. But then at the end of the day, when, you know, classes were over, just watching every YouTube video I could get my hands on, studying, reading. I was even studying, well, not studying, I was reading the Series 7 exam, even though I had no intention to like take it. There's a lot of, good info in there. And just before you know it, it led into another thing. I found classmates that were kind of doing the same thing as me. We had, a kind of very small, tight knit investment club at our school, which was really cool. Um, I ended up becoming the president of that senior year, and that kind of was what started, I guess, like my newsletter because um, you had this emails at your disposal, and I kind of just kept the people in the club like updated, and I guess I was kind of making small little newsletters without even noticing it. Um and then yeah, and the main thing was about me and why I chose Kings Point and why I chose maritime was really the time off. You work around, fortunately, hopefully, only half the year. I know some people get stuck a little bit longer than that, but I work about half the year, 30 months, 30 days on, 30 days off. And it's just a perfect environment for if you want to do something new, something that's kind of out of your comfort zone, learn a new skill, hobby, whatever it may be. You got a lot of time to pursue it. And really, when you're young, our age, or especially in school, like go out and do it. If you fail, you don't fail. You still got this great career behind you. You got this license to always fall back on. So
Right, and also you can leverage that technical experience from maritime because it's such a niche market or industry, and you can apply all
right.
this like finance like that you're interested in, just like go to a shoreside position later on. You never know. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, you see this with a lot of those COOs, CEOs of all these shipping companies. They all were former they sailed prior, then they went on to get their MBA. They have a
Mhm.
finance background too. Um, so I think it's
Yeah,
a
no,
great
that's
path.
that's a very good point. I mean, really what's gotten me the most here today was alumni. There was a I was very fortunate to meet a bunch of alumni who had sailed. One in particular, Keith, he sailed offshore just like me for 5 years. And ended up going, okay, I really enjoyed that. I'm gonna go get my MBA at University of Chicago. Did that, then went on to work at JP Morgan. And you, as a student or even a recent grad, you have this huge alumni network that wants to help you, especially ones that went off and kind of did something else. Because I think we can all agree that when someone graduates from a maritime school, you have that special connection with them. It's a little different than, I don't want to throw up a name out there. Let's just say like someone who just went to a state school and there's 10,000 students. Oh yeah, I went to that school. Okay, cool. Where if I ran into someone who went to Kings Point when I'm rocking down the road, I'm gonna get their number. I'm gonna get their, hey, let's go grab a beer, because
Yeah, you're
like
grabbing beers. Yeah.
the odds are very low, and you guys too. I mean, how many people did you graduate with? Not that many.
No,
Exactly.
no, 300 maybe. 300 were in our
Right,
class, 330.
Yeah.
But
right.
so that being said, is that something that you kind of foresee in your future, is going back to business school? Because it's something that I'm definitely looking at right now. Like
Mhm.
and I'm only 24, so I have plenty of time, but I'm starting to like spin those wheels a little bit in my head, where I'm just I just I just want to keep going. I feel like I'm always going to keep wanting to learn, and I feel like if I stop now, then I don't know if I'm ever going to go
Yeah,
back. So yeah, so I'm
yeah.
definitely thinking about it.
No, that's smart. I mean, I think it with business school, it really depends on like what you want to do. I'm in finance, and I work for a startup, and basically like kind of the position I'm in currently right now, I would say I don't know if I'm going to get go on to get my business school, because a lot of these jobs in finance are like getting that is the foot in the door. But if you already have the foot in the door, take it. you know um Traditional graduate schools were necessary, and then now they're becoming kind of not, and it's different for each person. The one thing that I would say is, if you know nobody, or if you don't exactly know what you want to do, maybe that is the right move. Or especially if you already work for a company and they're like, nudging you a little bit, hey, you should get your MBA, then definitely that's the
Yeah.
choice to
Yeah,
to
yeah.
make.
Yeah,
And
and
they'll might
also
maybe pay for it.
yeah, and also just like where we went to school, it depends on the network a lot.
Hmm.
So if you want to get into like these big firms, you have to go to a top school, and the top schools
Right.
usually have the network. So it all comes down to that as well.
Yeah.
Right. And you guys are more in the I'll confidently say you're more in the business world than I am. I'm just a dude sailing on a boat, and then I get off and tweet and make newsletters. So
Yeah, but
you
hey,
know,
you tweet, and it's not like you're tweeting into air. Like I mean, I have a Twitter, and I'm more just like, I almost use it as like a burner account, because I'm just
mhm,
like just tweeting
yeah,
out into air, and hopefully someone just like clicks the like button. But like you have people who are like, they're I mean, me being one of them. I follow your Twitter all the time. If I want to know what's going on in the market, I can't look at my phone all
mhm,
day, but I look at Coinbase, see where my
yeah,
Bitcoin's at. Don't even look at my brokerage account anymore, because it just makes me sad. And then I go on over to Gannon's Twitter, and then just take a
yeah,
look and see what's going on in the FinTwit world, because I mean, it's really entertaining. Even if you're like not into like investing, which I mean, I'll take that back. You probably have to be into to investing if you find FinTwit
right,
humorous. But yeah, I mean, just like taking a step back from that, like it, coming into like the working world, or coming, and you said you were already investing in college, but what would be some of the things that, like, for some of the listeners on this podcast, and I you already kind of mentioned it in that newsletter, that 401k newsletter that you had, but what would be some of the things that you would tell someone who is just getting their first, we'll say, real job, right? Because you're making like a decent amount of money, money that you can actually live on. What would be some of the things that you would say, and things that you took away, starting in this, making real money, and starting investing?
yeah. So to start off, don't buy anything of any significant value until you get a couple paychecks under your belt, because you don't know, your grasp on money isn't what your grasp on money was in college or in high school or any time. That's like starting off number one for like people graduating right now. And know a lot of people, and even me, I fell into this a little bit. Is like I got my job, and I bought a car, and you don't even know what an expensive car is. You don't even know what a non-expensive car is until you actually figure out, wait, how much am I making? How much am I paying in taxes? That would be like base point number one. Now, for advice for those people as well, but for people that are currently sailing or currently doing their thing and, don't know anything about finance or investing, or just simply not interested in it, my number one key takeaway, and I really glad you brought this up, was the Roth IRA, the 401k. Figure those vehicles out. Your retirement is not guaranteed. At the end of the day, if we're talking about Social Security, 401k. I mean, this is not advice. This is an opinion. But if you're not maxing that out, I don't know what to tell you. You got to do that.
Yeah.
But I think the main thing is, for a lot of people, they get lost. They think that stocks are this, okay, I have to figure out all this knowledge. There's so much knowledge. I'm so lost. I don't know what to invest in. Don't worry about that. Worry about the retirement vehicles, because those are number one. Those will get you on track. And in reality, in learning those vehicles, it's going to help you learn the whole market. And I know excellent investors who don't even buy a stock every year. They just buy, they hold, they put money into their account. They're not active, and there's no true right way to invest. Um, if you just know 5%, let's say there was 100% someone who knows everything, right? Let's say Warren Buffett, 100%. If you just know 3% of that, you're good. You can make a fortune out of the market. You don't need to be this mastermind. And
Right.
unfortunately, there's a lot of financial services. Well, what do they want to do? They want you to think you don't know what you're doing. Here, give me your money. I'll do it for you. I'll show you how to do it. And in reality, if you just know a little bit, if you take a little bit of time,
Well,
you can put yourself leagues ahead of the next person.
what I was gonna say is, if people just understand at a young age how much time you have, say you get your first job at 23, 22, 24, whatever, you have almost 40 years for that money to just compound. And if you're talking about maxing out your 401k every year, your Roth,
Yeah.
that's it just blows up. Like, you
Yeah,
Yeah,
have all the time
definitely.
in the world.
and I know people who are our age, and we're all the same age, that do not have any money in the stock market
Mhm.
at all, like investing or even in individual stocks. Like they thought it was funny that they bought like Dogecoin in 2017, and
Right.
like they were just like talking about FOMO of not having any money now. But it's just like you just have to be investing, and I think that's good advice. I think that even at a younger age, if when you have a part-time job in college, because many do, even just investing as much as you can at that point. It and I didn't do that. I certainly I waited until my first real job to start investing, and
Mm.
I kind of wish I even just, maybe if I didn't even have the money, I just at least knew what was going on, or what to do afterwards. But yeah, I kind of just did a huge, just kind of went down a wormhole a few nights in a row where I was just like, I need to learn as much as possible about this,
Yeah.
just for my future alone. Yeah, and ever since, that's just kind of what I've been
One
into.
thing I'll say, just on the point that you just made there, is, I have several friends and classmates that are, just kind of getting into it right now, and they're like, I don't know anything. I feel like I'm gonna just waste my money, or I'm not gonna do good in the stock market, or this or this and this. And at the end of the day, let's say you work for 5 years and you start putting your money in the market, and you don't even put in that much money. Let's say you put in $10,000 into the market every year for 5 years, and your account doesn't grow at all. You literally had, quote unquote, a bad year, which is, 0%, right? So at the end of the 5 years, hey, guess what? You have $50,000. That $50,000 didn't go anywhere.
Yeah,
At the end of the day, you could, with like I said, very basic, you could probably at least get 7% per year. But let's just say, you made some bad decisions, or, just somehow your account kind of was a wash, and you got zero growth. At the end of the 5 years, you have $50,000 that you didn't spend on, going out, on clothes, on a car that you didn't need. And then also on top of that, you're 5 years more intelligent than you were. You're years experienced than you were. And I kind of say this a lot, but it's like every day is a new day. You know, every day you can make the right choice. You can turn that corner. And I sometimes feel that too, is like there's weeks where I'm like, gosh, like made such a bad move on, that certain stock or doing this, or I shouldn't have just spent $300 that weekend. And it's like just around the corner though, there's always something great. And so that's kind of what I want to say to those people who go, well, I don't know if I'm going to do good. Even if you don't do good at all, or let's say you just, even if you lost 5% after the 5 years, you still got a lot of money and you are saving your money. That's the biggest thing. And you create, and in turn, making a budget, which is like the number one thing to investing is you can't
Right.
invest anything if you don't have anything. So
Exactly. Um, so I've always had this question on my mind because
mhm.
I haven't really talked to many people that sail. What's it like, not for you personally, but maybe like you and your friends working for 6 months and then you have 6 months off? Because that's really unique. Not a lot of people have that opportunity to just live on a ship, not paying
Yeah,
rent or whatever. You
Well,
know?
what is your schedule, Gannon? Is that what
I
your
do.
schedule is?
No, no, no. So, well, I do 30 days on, 30 days off. So I end up working 6 months out of the year, but I'm pretty fortunate in the sense that my schedule is only 30 days on, where a lot of people do about 3 to 4 months on and then 3 to 4 months off. Usually those are like the container ships, bulk grain ships, MSC ships even sometimes do longer, but usually they have a more unpredictable schedule, I'd say. And then getting to your question is, it this is something that I struggle with like currently. When you're on a ship, you feel detached from the world. You feel like you're almost on the International Space Station. Birthdays go by, holidays go by, and it's great. Having that time off is great. Don't get me wrong. But I would say, the biggest cons of sailing are just feeling like time is flying by. I mean, this past 2 years, I've been, almost working for my company for almost the 2 year mark now. It really only feels like 1 year because guess what? You only care about the time that you're off. So those are the memories you have, right? Are the time that you're off, which is only half the year. And then
Yeah.
on top of that, when you're on the ship, 1 month feels like actually 2 months. And then when you're off the ship, 1 month feels like 2 weeks. And it feels like it gets shorter and shorter and shorter. So for me, that's kind of my motivation for the side hustles and the entrepreneurship things that I do. Some people love it though. Some people that's their lifestyle and they get off the ship and they don't even have a apartment. They go cross country skiing and then fly over to, wherever they want and they love that. So I'm not talking down on anyone that is a career sailor and loves to do that. It really just depends on your personality.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super cool. I've never had the opportunity to do like I will say a weird schedule because I guess it is kind
Mhm.
of weird compared to like the typical 9 to 5. Let's just say different. It's not weird, but it's yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely different lifestyle, just like you're saying. And do you feel like you're kind of like playing catch up in your 30 days off? Like it seems like that's what you're kind of saying. Like you got to like
Mhm.
reach out to all your friends that are all shoreside and be like, "Yo, my bad, I didn't answer your text messages because I was,
Yeah.
in the middle of the ocean."
I'm lucky enough that I have cell service a lot because I work for an offshore company. One of the
Yeah.
big reasons why I work for an offshore company is that schedule. I kind of knew that was the schedule going in. I knew that I was going to have, to be able to interact with people at least on my cell phone. But I do have friends and I have been on ships before when I was in school doing my internship or like apprenticeship in which you don't have any cell phones. You're totally disconnected. I think the biggest thing is when you get back, every single time it feels like before I'm about to get off, I go, okay, this time I'm just going to relax. I don't want to schedule anything. I don't want to do anything. Maybe 2 weeks in, I'll like, okay, I'll work on something that I want to work on. And every single time that plan implodes. And before you know it, you're going to visit your family across the country, and then oh wait, we have this thing to go to, and then before you know it, your 4 weeks are over. My 4 weeks are over. So it goes by really, really quick.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, well, we're coming up on time here, Gannon. So I just wanted to give you a few minutes, if you want to kind of talk about and plug some of your like your Twitter,
Yeah.
what you're working on next, and yeah, I'm sure our followers are going to enjoy this episode. I know, because like I said, you are like at that crossroads of being and we just talked about it, being from a maritime academy, so you can relate to someone like that if you're in the going to a maritime
Yeah.
academy. And then just having that someone to just follow on Twitter, like
Yeah.
he went through the same stuff as me, and now look, he's a financial
Yeah,
wizard.
for sure. No, I wouldn't say that. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna plug my Twitter. It's just my name, Gannon Breslin, Gannon Breslin. I also have an Instagram at Rebel Markets. That's also the name of my newsletter. It's all one word. And really, I guess my parting words in a way are that if you want to do something, do it. And you have the time, especially if you're a sailor for the most part. It can feel like you're trapped or pigeonholed into any career that you're in. And you can do a hobby. It could be about anything. I mean, writing, journaling, anything. The best way to get it going is just start tweeting. Connor, you mentioned earlier before that the engagement on my Twitter. I mean, I started off, no one read my tweets, no one liked my tweets. And that's the best time in reality, because you figure out what you want to talk about, So I guess like the main thing is that, effort is the number one thing. You can do anything you want to do. Trust me. I was there. I was studying for my Series 65 on my ship after getting off of working for 12 hours a day for 30 days straight, studying, at quote unquote midnight, on a ship. And there was many times I'm like, what am I doing right now? Like, no one else is doing this. Like, who is studying for a series license exam while out in the middle of the, East Coast,
Right.
and I did that 2 months back to back. But at the end of the day, like, that's the direction that I want to head. That's the direction I'm going. And if you're a sailor, you already have the fortitude, you have the effort. Trust me, I know you can't be a sailor without it, and you can't get through your maritime schools without it. It's a hard job, it's a hard school. And don't rest on your laurels. When you graduate, just keep plugging. That's all I got on that.
Awesome. No, that's great. Well, let me just thank you for coming on, Gannon. I appreciate it. I know your time is valuable. I really do think our followers are gonna get a lot of this. So yeah, thanks again. We'd love to have you on another time. We can talk about something else, and we'll definitely be following you on Twitter.
Thank you very much,
Awesome.
Connor and Colin. And seriously, let me know when you got this all wrapped up, and I'll give it a share.